Smoke billowed everywhere, explosions echoing across the mountainside. SEAL Commander Ross Hale collapsed, blood soaking through his chest armor. In the middle of the firefight, a small female medic knelt down, hands trembling as she applied pressure to the bleeding. "Leave him! We have to go!" a soldier shouted. But she wouldn't let go. Under heavy fire, she dragged him to safety, bandaging wounds while gasping for breath. Nobody knew that years later, she'd stand beside Ross in a wedding chapel, stunning everyone into silence. Anna Keller, 27 years old. Small frame, long brown hair, deep melancholy eyes. Medic attached to SEAL support operations. Daily responsibilities: suturing wounds, maintaining medical records, hiding extra food in night guards' pockets, cleaning boots for wounded soldiers to make walking less painful. Personality: quiet, always nodding instead of speaking. Teammates cared for her, but nobody respected her strength. Anna's too fragile for combat zones. She's good at saving people, but couldn't survive under fire herself. During weapons training, when she adjusted a rookie's scope, others laughed. A medic trying to be a sniper? Anna didn't respond, just tightened her medical pack straps and walked away. In her pack's small compartment, she kept an old photograph. Her brother, who'd died on a mission in 2012. He'd been a SEAL, and his death had driven Anna to choose the medic path. Save others, so nobody has to lose a brother like I did. Strange habit. When stressed, she'd stand watching the wind, counting with her hand to measure direction, something nobody understood. The other soldiers didn't know about her background. To them, she was someone who'd chosen medical training over combat training. Someone who healed rather than harmed. What they couldn't see was that Anna's medical precision came from understanding that small details could mean the difference between life and death. She'd grown up in a military family where excellence was expected, not celebrated. Her father had been Army Rangers, her brother Navy SEALs. She'd learned from childhood that service meant sacrifice. But Anna had chosen a different path from her family's combat roles. She believed in saving lives rather than taking them, in healing wounds rather than creating them. Her medical skills were exceptional because they were built on a foundation of tactical awareness that most medics never received. She understood battlefield conditions, recognized combat injuries, anticipated complications that civilian-trained medics might miss. "Why do you work so hard?" other medics would ask. "Because someone's life depends on getting it right," Anna would reply. They assumed she meant surgical procedures or trauma response. Anna meant everything she did, because she'd learned that competence in one area often translated to life-or-death consequences in others. Her small notebook, officially for medical records, contained additional information: casualty evacuation routes, communication protocols, tactical positions, details that would seem excessive to anyone who didn't understand their application. During quiet moments, she'd study battlefield medicine manuals, memorize drug interactions, practice procedures until they became automatic. The younger soldiers would sometimes ask why she spent so much time on equipment maintenance. "Because these tools have to work perfectly when someone's life depends on them," she'd reply. Anna had dedicated herself completely to the medical mission, but she'd never forgotten the broader context of military service. A guard later recalled, "That winter night I almost collapsed from cold. She gave me her own jacket. People thought she was weak, but she kept us strong." That night, the SEAL team advanced into a mountain village for reconnaissance. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. RPGs screamed overhead. Flames lit up the sky. Enemy forces had set up a four-sided ambush. SEAL formations scattered. Ross Hale, the commander, took a direct hit to the chest, collapsed, blood pouring through his armor. Soldiers shouted, "Can't get to him! He's done for!" Someone else yelled, "We have to retreat, or we'll all die." Anna rushed into the gunfire, knelt to apply pressure to Ross's wounds, her back catching flying dirt and debris. "He still has a pulse! I'm not leaving!" she screamed. Soldiers stared in disbelief. "Are you insane? A medic staying here means you both die." Anna dragged Ross to cover, simultaneously tying tourniquets and shouting orders. "Smoke! Throw smoke now!" A smoke grenade detonated, gray clouds covering the entire battlefield. Anna controlled bleeding while dragging Ross through brush and grass, her hands covered in dark red blood. Bullets cracked past, throwing dirt and rocks, but she held on tight. The ambush had been carefully planned. Enemy forces knew SEAL tactics, had positioned themselves to maximize casualties, eliminate escape routes. Under normal circumstances, Ross would have been left behind. Military doctrine prioritized unit survival over individual rescue in situations where extraction meant losing the entire team. But Anna wasn't following military doctrine. She was following medical doctrine. Never abandon a patient who can be saved. Her assessment had been instant and professional. Ross's wounds were severe but not immediately fatal. With proper medical intervention, he could survive. Without it, he would die within minutes. She'd made the calculation that every combat medic learns. Sometimes saving one life requires risking another. Anna's small size became an advantage. She could move through cover that larger soldiers couldn't use, drag Ross through spaces where others wouldn't fit. Her medical training included battlefield extraction techniques. She knew how to move wounded soldiers without causing additional trauma, how to maintain medical intervention while navigating hostile terrain. But this wasn't just about medical training. This was about refusing to let someone die when she had the capability to prevent it. The smoke provided concealment, but Anna's extraction was tactically sound. She used terrain features, moved during covering fire, coordinated with the team's defensive actions. Enemy forces pursued, but thanks to smoke cover and determination, Anna and 2 SEALs got Ross back to friendly lines. Her actions had saved Ross's life, but they'd also prevented the psychological trauma that comes with leaving teammates behind. The SEALs who witnessed it understood they'd seen something extraordinary. Not just medical heroics, but tactical competence under pressure that exceeded what they'd expected from support personnel. Anna had proven that medics weren't just people who treated wounds after battles. Sometimes they were people who fought to prevent wounds from becoming fatal. Ross's survival would impact every subsequent operation. His leadership, his experience, his tactical knowledge remained available to the unit because Anna had refused to accept his loss. But the cost to Anna was significant. She'd used up adrenaline reserves, exhausted physical capabilities, pushed herself beyond normal limits. As they reached safety, Anna collapsed from exhaustion, but not before ensuring Ross was stable and ready for surgical intervention. A young soldier would later recount, "I saw her, so small that her pack was bigger than she was. But that night, she dragged the commander back from death's door." Real marker, SEAL Vega recalled, "I was shaking too much to shoot straight, but the medic was the one yelling orders to keep the team together." At the temporary base, Ross was rushed to the surgical unit. Doctors were amazed. The wounds had been perfectly treated for bleeding control, tourniquets properly positioned and timed. One surgeon muttered, "Whoever did this has extensive battlefield experience." Anna sat collapsed beside the bed, still gripping her blood-stained medical log. Ross woke up, voice hoarse. "You saved me." She just smiled slightly. I only did what any medic should do. But word spread quickly through the camp. The small woman pulled the commander from death. Some officers only credited the entire team in reports, not mentioning names, but everyone who'd been there knew the truth. Ross, during recovery, gradually began sitting next to Anna in the mess hall, though nobody else sat with her. Once, he said quietly, "I owe you my life." Anna only replied, "Just live well. That's enough." Rumors circulated. The medic had special training background because nobody ordinary could maintain that composure under fire. The story was more complex than simple heroics under pressure. Anna's actions had been tactically sound because she'd received training most medics never got. Growing up in a military family, she'd learned battlefield awareness, tactical movement, situational assessment. Her brother had taught her to read terrain, understand cover and concealment, recognize tactical advantages, knowledge she'd never expected to use professionally. "Where did you learn extraction techniques like that?" Ross asked during a private conversation. "My brother taught me that every soldier should know how to get teammates out of danger." "Your brother was military?" Anna nodded. "Navy SEAL. KIA in Afghanistan, 2012. Ross understood immediately. Anna's dedication to saving lives came from personal experience with military loss. She'd chosen medical service as a way to honor her brother's sacrifice. "Is that why you became a medic?" "I wanted to make sure other families didn't lose someone the way we lost him." The conversation revealed Anna's motivation. She wasn't just providing medical care. She was fighting against the kind of loss that had devastated her own family. Her exceptional commitment to saving Ross hadn't been about professional duty. It had been about preventing another family from experiencing what hers had endured. Ross began understanding Anna's quiet intensity. Every patient she treated represented someone's brother, someone's son, someone's father. Personal stakes that made her job more than just medical practice. "You could have been killed trying to save me. Better that than letting someone else lose their brother." The unit dynamics shifted after Ross's recovery. Anna was no longer seen as fragile support personnel. She was recognized as someone who'd demonstrated courage under fire that exceeded many combat veterans. But Anna didn't change her daily routine. She continued quiet medical work, continued caring for wounded soldiers, continued her small acts of kindness. The difference was that now people understood these actions came from someone with proven capability under extreme pressure. Young medics began seeking her guidance, not knowing about her family background, but recognizing her exceptional competence. "How do you stay calm during emergencies?" they'd ask. "You remember what's most important," Anna would reply. "Not your safety, not your comfort, but the person depending on you to do your job correctly." Her approach to medical care had been shaped by military values learned from her brother. Never leave a teammate behind, always complete the mission, sacrifice personal comfort for unit welfare. Ross's recovery became complete, but he continued seeking Anna's company. Their conversations were quiet, respectful, built on shared understanding of military service and sacrifice. Other soldiers noticed the developing connection. The commander who'd never shown personal interest in anyone was spending time with the medic who'd saved his life. "Is there something between them?" soldiers would speculate. But their relationship was built on deeper foundations than romance. It was based on mutual respect, shared values, and understanding that some bonds are forged under circumstances that test character completely. Anna had proven herself under the most extreme conditions. Ross had seen her true nature when everything was at stake. Neither was interested in casual connections. Both understood that meaningful relationships required the kind of trust that could only be earned through actions when everything mattered. A military doctor later noted, "With her wound treatment approach, I can confirm that if we'd been 2 minutes later, the commander would have died." That medic bought back every second of life. When the deployment ended, Anna returned to quiet duties, changing bandages, updating records, working night shifts. Ross, after recovery, often ate meals with her, something nobody had ever seen the commander do. One evening, in the crowded mess hall, Ross stood up, his voice carrying, "I'm alive because of someone we used to think of as just a medic." The entire room fell silent. No more laughter. No applause. No formal ceremony. But from that day forward, whenever Anna entered, SEALs would quietly nod in greeting. A chair in the mess hall was always left empty beside her, a sign of silent respect. The atmosphere in the unit had permanently changed. Anna was no longer seen as support personnel who needed protection. She was recognized as someone who could provide protection while delivering medical care. Ross's public acknowledgement had established new understanding about medics in combat zones. They weren't just people who treated wounds after battles. They were people who fought to save lives during battles. "Ma'am," young soldiers began approaching Anna, "will you teach us battlefield medical techniques?" Anna looked up from her charts. "I can teach you procedures that might save someone's life someday. But I hope you never need them under the conditions where I learned them." Her relationship with Ross developed slowly, built on shared understanding rather than dramatic romance. Both had seen too much military service to be impressed by superficial attractions. Their connection was based on deeper recognition. Anna had seen Ross at his most vulnerable and chosen to risk everything for him. Ross had witnessed Anna's character under conditions that revealed true nature. They began spending quiet time together, not dating in conventional sense, but sharing the companionship of people who understood military service and sacrifice. Other personnel respected their developing bond. It wasn't based on convenience or casual attraction, but on the kind of mutual respect that could only be earned under extreme circumstances. Anna continued her medical duties with complete dedication. Ross continued his command responsibilities with full focus, but they'd found in each other someone who understood the weight of military service. The empty chair beside Anna remained as a symbol, not just of respect for her actions, but recognition that some people carry capabilities that can't be measured by their official roles. Ross would sometimes look at that chair and remember the moment when Anna's hands had held his life together, literally and figuratively. Neither sought recognition for their developing relationship. They just valued having someone who understood what it meant to serve others above yourself. Years later, Anna left military service, living quietly, far from gunfire. One day, a wedding invitation appeared. SEAL Commander Ross Hale getting married. In the chapel, when the bride appeared, the crowd of veterans held their breath. It was Anna, the woman who'd knelt under enemy fire, applying pressure to save Ross's life. Their vows echoed through the room. "You kept me alive. Today, I promise to keep your heart safe forever." Many SEALs wept openly. The lesson: some acts of kindness don't just save lives, they rewrite entire destinies. Their story reminds us that the deepest relationships are often forged under the most challenging circumstances. When someone risks everything to save your life, when someone demonstrates their true character under pressure, lasting bonds are created. Love built on mutual respect, shared sacrifice, and proven character under fire creates foundations that casual romance never could. Sometimes saving someone's life means gaining a partner for your own life. If you believe in stories that touch the heart like this one, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to SN Quiet Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten, Real people creating and telling stories, not mass-produced AI.